Syracuse has a new football coach. We will visit with Fran Brown, and apparently, stunningly, Texas A&M is about to have a new athletic director. This is the College Game Day podcast for Wednesday, March 13th. Rece Davis and Pete Thamel. And Pete, as we sit here right now, a story broke while we were starting the podcast that Texas A&M was looking to fill its open athletic director's position, and the leading candidate and presumed future athletic director there is Trev Alberts from Nebraska. Now, listeners to this podcast know that I have a long relationship with Trev Alberts. We worked together for a number of years. We've remained very friendly over the years. And not much in this space and the enterprise of college athletics surprises me anymore. This stuns me, not because of the money. According to reports, Nebraska had a deal with Trev that would keep him there through 2031, and by 2026 would have his salary over $2 million a year. The reason it stuns me is because of my personal knowledge of what Nebraska means to him. There has never been a Cornhusker who Cornhuskered harder than Trev Alberts. Coming from the state of Iowa, playing for Tom Osborne, the reverence he has for Osborne, the fact that I think he was just about close to going into some other aspect of life when he decided to take the job at Nebraska, which seemed to be the only one he would ever covet. And, I'm fascinated and cannot wait. And I've reached out to him, and if he responds, we'll put it on the podcast right now. But I'm fascinated to hear what led to this, because he's making good money. He's done well financially in his life. I don't know what the motivation is. Not that A&M's not a great job, but those deep personal ties to make the move to A&M at this stage is surprising to me. You?
Yeah, Rece, I agree. His name had just sort of been bandied about a little bit in this search. And I also think it's instructive here that his name was also involved in the CFP executive director search that ended up going to the head of Air Force, Richard Clark. So I guess it is not the first time his name has been on the wire, but if I remember right, they had announced a contract sort of in concert with when his name was involved in that CFP search. So to me, that sort of took him off the board. I know this A&M search, look, everything at A&M is complicated, right? It's a very political place. There's meddling boards. There's a reason when you dive into Texas A&M, there's a reason why they haven't won a league title since they were in the Big 12. There's a reason why all the natural resources there, Rece, have not been maximized. And so this process had been meandering. The head of the 12th Man Foundation's name had come up a few times, and I don't know if that was more as a diversion or if he was real. Travis Dabney, I believe, is his name. And there had been a couple other ADs' names that had sort of popped up and faded away and popped up and faded away. And I just didn't expect Trev Alberts to do this for those reasons. You sit with Trev Alberts, it's like the appreciation for Nebraska. That's like his whole worldview. I mean, so it's a really interesting moment in time, because it's not like Nebraska's behind right now. They have a good coach. They just got the best quarterback recruit in the country. They're building to be in the top half of that Big Ten conversation. This isn't somebody leaving a Big 12 school that feels like it's getting left behind or something like that. Like, they are on the right side of the river in college athletics. So I think that's the part that's surprising, is that A&M went big. I'll be very curious to see how much they pay him, because I would think to lure him from there, it wouldn't be for like an equal pay type situation. A&M has never lacked resources. They've often lacked direction, and they have certainly lacked linear leadership. So Trev Alberts is the one who's going to have to sort of navigate through that mess, and it will be interesting to see. He's certainly qualified. He's certainly done a good job. I believe Nebraska is the only Big Ten school, Rece, that doesn't actually have any debt. And they've had basically 2 bad decades of football prior to this. So, it is one of the most unique challenges in college athletics. Mike Elko said to me a couple weeks ago, when I was in his office before the national title game, he said, he was looking forward to, when we figure this out, how college football will react when it's kind of done here in the modern era for the first time.
Here's the thing. I don't it's a great job. A&M is potentially a great job, and Trev is tough enough to handle it because he made some very difficult decisions as it pertained to cutting football. At some of it might have been a little bit out of his hands when he was the athletic director at Omaha, and then went into Nebraska, and they are rolling, as you mentioned, with Rule. Fred Hoiberg is the basketball coach. It was just named Big Ten Coach of the Year. They're putting 92,000 people in the football stadium for volleyball. I mean, everything seems to be going the right way, but you don't know if there are other factors that contributed to it, or if it's simply he is a guy who likes a challenge, and the factors that you mentioned with A&M demand that someone not only have the business acumen, but the political acumen and the spine, if you will, to stand firm. And I would think, absent those emotional Nebraska ties, I would think that that's an unsurprising candidate for Texas A&M. But with the emotional ties, I'm just surprised that he wanted to do that. But you can't underestimate what a challenge might mean to someone like that, or what things are going on beneath the surface that you don't see. We see the 92,000 in for volleyball. We see Hoiberg having success in court stormings in basketball, and Matt Rule telling us on the podcast that he and Trev stormed the court together, after I think it was Wisconsin they beat, maybe, or somebody. You see all of that, but there could be other things. And, it'll be fascinating to hear if, in fact, it's confirmed. If it's confirmed.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's trending in that direction. As we're taping here, it's not signed, but I expect it from making a couple quick calls and texts here to go in that direction. It'll be interesting to see when Trev does sort of unwrap a little bit of why. And again, like he was engaged in that CFP job for a while too. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all unspools here.
That would the CFP job would have been less surprising than this, because then you're sort of taking a different direction, and you're looking at college football as a whole. But hey, look, wish him well. I think he leaves Nebraska far better than he found it. That's for sure, if that's the case. But it's sort of like, this is different. But I always worry about coaches who go to their alma maters if it doesn't go well, because when they leave, sometimes it permanently impacts the feeling that you have about the place, or if not permanently, for a really, really long time. I think of Ray Goff at Georgia in football. I think of Matt Doherty at North Carolina in basketball. And there are numerous other examples of Mike DuBose at Alabama in football. It damages the feeling sometimes permanently. And he is such a legend at that place as a player, and then the success he had as the athletic director. I just think it's a really fascinating move on a personal level. From a purely pragmatic standpoint, maybe there is some upside to it, and I want to emphasize again, Texas A&M do a great job for an athletic director. So in fact, when Scott Woodward was there before Ross Bjork, I think the pull of home and LSU is probably about the only thing that would have pulled him out of there. And, this is sort of the opposite of that. The pull away from home shows you the power of the potential, I guess, of Texas A&M. But it'll be an interesting thing. We typically don't spend a lot of time on the athletic director hires, but this one is pretty significant, I mean, you might in terms of getting news out. You break those all the time, but in terms of the podcast, we don't spend a lot of time there.
No, but I do think those are two big brands and two significant places in college football. So I would guess Matt Rule's probably already calling his buddy Pat Kraft at Penn State to see if he'll join him in Lincoln.
And now you're sending shivers through Penn State, because they're pretty happy with their guy now. From all
they like him,
right
nope,
as well they should. And we're not stumping for Pat Kraft to get the Nebraska job or leave Penn State or anything else like that. Just an observation. Some observations too, with the guest that we have coming up, with Fran Brown taking over at Syracuse. John Wildhack, another guy who moved from media into administration, leaving ESPN and taking over as the athletic director at Syracuse, made made a somewhat of a surprise move, I think, plucking Fran Brown from position coach at Georgia to head coach at Syracuse. What was your reaction to it when John made that decision a few months ago?
So when it happened, I guess it both made sense and I was surprised, if that makes sense, Rece. Like it made sense because Fran Brown is of the Northeast. He had been at Rutgers, he had been at Temple, he's from Camden. He had always coveted a Northeast job. He was close, the runner up to Stan Drayton when Stan got that job at Temple, I guess 2 seasons ago now. And he was one of the top assistants with Northeast ties that was always going to be involved. But at the same time, like because he had not been a coordinator, there was a little bit of like a whoa factor when Fran Brown did get that job. And one thing I did hear is that he just crushed the interview. Like he just blew them away to where they were just like, yes, this is our guy. There was no ambiguity in the minds of the people involved in the search. I'm gonna look forward to asking him about that because there's Fran Brown is a compelling guy. And I think the listeners are really going to enjoy our chat with him because he's pitched a vision for Syracuse and quite frankly a lot of it in terms of personnel so far they haven't even started spring ball yet, but in terms of personnel, some of that vision has already been a reality in a short period of time.
And we are pleased to be joined by the head coach at Syracuse, Fran Brown. Fran, thank you for being with us. So, Fran, let's start at the beginning. Having endured some negotiations with John Wildhack during my career, what was the first meeting like with the Syracuse athletic director that led to you taking this job?
The first meeting was a text where I just bravely texted him on my own. I called him. I was like, I want this job. I'm going after it myself. I texted him and I said, John, I'm Fran Brown. I'm such and such. The best way to find out about me is through me. Could you please give me 5 to 10 minutes? And that 5 to 10 minute conversation went on for about 50 minutes.
So
like,
did he return your call immediately after that? Because in this day and age, I don't know if I've ever heard of this. This is awesome.
He returned it within an hour or so, I would say, like an hour or maybe 2 hours. Like I'm not sure of the time because I was actually working. So it was like between everybody running out to the bathroom, we was game planning and stuff. So I just text him and I'm like, yo, like, forget it. I'm gonna do it. Like, I ain't waiting on no agent. I'm not waiting on all them to do it. If you want something, you know how it is. We want something, we gotta go get it ourselves. So I just text him. And then I waited. Then all of a sudden I got a call. I said, oh, snap. And I ran out, make sure I went and took that call.
Fran, from what I heard, you won the job in the interview. You impressed him obviously on the phone, but you had to go in. I think you interviewed in Atlanta, and you won the job. What do you remember? I mean, you wanted the job for a while. We've talked about it for years. What do you remember about like walking into that interview and you had to project some confidence and just what was that night like?
The night was long because the night before we played Georgia Tech. So we played Georgia Tech, and my family all went to the game, and everyone thought I was going to stay in Atlanta. But after the game, so I remember my wife didn't park where she was supposed to park at. So we walked like a mile and a half, 2 miles back to the car. I got a 2-year-old daughter. My mother-in-law was with us. Grandma, it was just so many people with us. So I walked them all the way back. We walked all the way back to the car, got in the car. I drove home. I'm tired as heck. Get in the house, fix up my stuff. Like, so when I get in the house, it's some things that I had set a book up. And as I'm looking at the book, it wasn't right earlier that day. So I had my guy that was like, fix my book up, do this. They was like, don't bring a book. I was like, no, I'm not going for that no more. I'm doing a book. I'm bringing it. I'm doing it my way. So I was up till probably 3:30. And then I had an interview early in the morning. So then I ended up driving down there that morning, early in the morning. So like, I mean, I was tired. To be honest. Like we just had Georgia Tech who played their hearts out. We ended up winning the game. But I mean, I was extremely tired, but it was still like now or never. Got a chance to meet the search firm guy. And he was like a good dude. Like he was a real good guy. Talked to him. And I was really just praying, to be honest with you guys, man. I was just praying. And you ever have just that feeling of like, okay, what's going to go wrong? And then I start praying to myself, nothing's going to go wrong. Like, what's going right? What's going to go right? Kind of went back to Ryan Holiday. I read this book, The Obstacles the Way, and just think, Fran, the glass is half full. It's not half empty. The glass is half full. And that was kind of like just what I was thinking. It was like, all right, I got to go crush this thing. I got to go get it. Seeing all the people coming to meet him, but it was more so like it became they wasn't really there, and I was just talking to the team. I was just talking to my future like coworkers and employees. And I remember when I really knew I was in the zone, I stood up, I took my jacket off, and I just started like just running off stuff. Like guys, I didn't even look at the book no more. Like probably an hour and a half. I just talked to him about stuff because I've been thinking and dreaming about it. Like Pete, you know how many times I told you, like I think this will work for me. I think this will do that. And so I've been dreaming about this Rece for like just so long and just like speaking it into fruition and just like speaking and being positive about it. Bro, I didn't even look at the book anymore. And I just told them everything that was going on from when they hired me all the way to the first day of camp. And like I had everything mapped out, everything laid out, and they still like I'm still following those same things because like I knew what I wanted, I knew what it was going to take to try and be successful here. I knew what it was going to take to build a what kind of staff. Now it was just the players of all the people I knew, so it was just like I mean it was a dream come true to be honest. Like for me to sit there and for nothing to be like nothing went wrong. You ever just be in that moment? Like it was like yo, nothing went wrong. Probably how Michael Jordan felt on all his shots, probably not to that high magnitude because it's Michael Jordan, but I couldn't miss, you know, and I was excited and I was just happy. And when I got done, I just left and I called my wife and she said, how'd it go? I said, T, I crushed it. And she was like, really? And I never say that. Like all the other two times I had interviewed somewhere, I was like, I don't know, I think I messed up on this or, you know, I think that. But it was like, I was like, I crushed it. And then me and her prayed. You know, and I was just like, yo, nothing I could do now. I'm just going back to work. Like, you know, and I went back to work. So, yeah, I think with Kirby still was like, yo, get to work. You know what I'm saying? Go handle that. But let's get to work when you're done with that. So I went into work and I continued to work on my passing game stuff and just locked in on everything. And it just all worked itself out. I got a call the next day from a search firm. And he told me I got the job. And he was like, how you feel? Anything you got to say? I was like, do you mind praying with me? And we just prayed right there. You know, I just prayed with him again. And I was just like, wow, like, you know, then I called my agency. No one knew that I was like going forward. Like, even with Pete, like Pete's been like a mentor to me. Like I've talked to him about a lot of things. Pete said, Fran, is this going on? And I was like, nah, that's not true. I just did not want this to mess up. Like last time I thought I was getting a job at another school, I was humiliated. Rece, like Pete knows how I felt. I was just bro, I was like sad. Like I live in Jersey, right next to Philadelphia, and it was saying that I was getting a job. And when I didn't get it, like I was just humiliated. Like I didn't want to go outside again. It was almost like when I got cut from the Bengals again. It was like, dang, what I'm gonna do. So this time, I didn't tell anyone but my wife and Kirby Smart. So then that's why, you know, when it came out, people were saying it like, hey, why didn't you tell me? I called the agent after they said I got the job. I called him and said, look, I got the job at Syracuse. He's like, what? I say, I got the job. This is the amount of money I'm gonna get. Call and make sure everything is right. So then he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, like I got it. Just could you call him now?
You mentioned a book which is sort of based on that the old Roman philosopher, Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius. The obstacle is the way. What's the greatest obstacle that you have to go through at Syracuse to make Syracuse a winning program?
Just make sure the community stays behind me. I think they'll say it's a community that has been broken and let down a lot for a long time. So I think the greatest obstacle is for me to stay consistent, and so that way they can stay behind us, you know, and really be a part of it. The fan base, just be they deserve happiness. They deserve to be fun. They deserve the same way that you know, I was at Georgia, I was at, you know, different schools who you see the fan base and they were always up and happy for it. And I think they deserve the same thing. So I think the greatest obstacle is going to be for me to bring the right players in that can compete and give them a great product to go out in the field and watch and just be happy and proud of. So I would say the greatest obstacle is just keeping consistency with the fans and having them something to look forward to and to be happy about.
Brian, you mentioned bringing in players. I've never asked you this. You went from Camden, New Jersey to Western Carolina. Not a lot of direct flights between Camden and Cullowhee, I would think. Walk me through how you got there. That obviously, of all the steps in your journey, that one probably, I would guess, shaped you the most. Getting the chance to go play college football. What was walk me through a little bit of that and those formative years, and I imagine that planted some seeds to coach after playing.
So first, I did 1 year at Hudson Valley Community College where I got my associate's degree. So I went there. I met Matt Rule. He came in, was recruiting me. Jeff Collins started talking to me, and I could have went to like Miami, Ohio, Toledo, different schools. But it was something about just talking to them. And honestly, guys, if I tell you why I went to school, you guys will laugh. Their colors were purple and gold. I played at Camden High. We were purple and gold, right? My name was on the back of my jersey. And our first game, we was going to play against Phillip Rivers, Jericho Cotry, T.A. McClendon, Mario. I mean, just all of those dudes. I got a chance to go out there and play against them. And they sold me on that. And then the colors. And it was like, yo, you could come here and do this. My wife got an opportunity to come to college with me. You know, she went up there to school with me. And it was a culture shock. Yeah, I think. I'm from Camden. I went to Detroit, New York, which was still similar because of Albany and things like that. But going to Cullowhee, I mean, you're talking about culture shock. I went from the city to the mountains. I just went like nothing. And it was the best thing, the best decision I've ever made in my life. I learned how to be a man. I learned how to survive on my own. And I learned when things got hard, figure it out. Like, figure it out. There was no leaving. Where are you going back to Camden? Or you want to stay here and get it done the right way? So it was figure it out. I got closer to Christ. My grandmama always put Jesus in my life, so that was always there. But I got closer to God when I was down there. You know, FCA had just started going on and things of that nature. So I would go to all the FCA meetings and do different things of that nature. But it was just like I grew friends. Like I got to see other people come to college. I went through a lot of pain because my mom was started to get really ill just before she passed. She had congestive heart failure, kidney failure. And I would see so many players, mom and dads, all coming to the games, going to different things. I remember I used to ride a bike from the game back to my apartment. I would throw my bike into the trees. No one like would ever be able to find it. I would just throw it in the trees because it was an old bike I bought down there. I would throw my bike in the trees and I would ride it off. But like I cried a lot leaving games. And like a lot of dudes don't know it just because like, dang, my parents aren't here. I was the captain, so I showed good things. But then I ended up my wife got pregnant with my oldest son, Fran Jr., and then she had to leave. So it really became hard because like the woman who I've shared my entire adult life with and most of my teen life with, she ended up going back home because it was a better fit for her to be able to, you know, be pregnant with a baby. Her mom would be there to help her, and then she wanted to do nursing, and it was like she couldn't stay at Western and take all the classes. She would have to travel so far because of where our nursing program was at. So it was like best for her to go home. But you're talking about those tests that God hit you with, man, they just was coming and they were coming, they were coming. And I just kept had my faith, had my faith, had my faith. I ended up being a captain 2 straight more years, and we got better. But Matt Rule and Jeff Collins, they just made me tough. Like they didn't allow me to surrender. They didn't allow any circumstances to dictate my outcome, and it just made me work. And then my team see me work, and I just wanted more and more. And you go with anybody that tell you no one's ever outworked me. Like I don't care who you are, what it is. You may be a lot smarter than me. You may have different pieces, but once I understand and know what to do, I am going to outwork you. You know, and that's the whole piece of it. And that's what I believe. Like my faith and hard work at Western Carolina, man, it saved my life. You know, just faith and hard work. And Matt Rule, Jeff Collins, Kent Briggs, just all those guys that were on the staff. Every little piece of it. Clayton White was on the staff at one point. Marcus Satterfield, just every coach. Because I always spoke to people. I started to learn how to speak to different guys. You got to think, I went from Camden, New Jersey, where it was just all black and Hispanic. Then I went down to Western Carolina, where this is the first time I got around a bunch of Caucasian men that I had to like listen to, and they were starting to be like guys that I wanted to follow in my life. Like, oh snap, you got a wife? This is how you treat your wife. Like, and just seeing how they treat their families and things of that nature. So, I mean, Western Carolina will forever be like the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, getting to go to that school. Like, I love my school. I'm involved in the school. I try to call. I'm mad they didn't recruit my son. But, you know, everybody gets mad when you don't recruit their kid and different things of that nature. And he's at a great place, though. He's happy now. But, I mean, Western saved my life. So, you know, you figure I want my son to go there because I know what it'll do for him. But different time, different kid. So,
Who would you say among those experiences, I mean, which is a remarkable story, had the biggest influence in terms of shaping what you want Syracuse to be, not just on the field, but the entire program of helping develop young men? And we've heard a lot of talk recently that when you're in the recruiting space right now that maybe doesn't carry as much weight with as many potential players as it once did, that there, so much concern about NIL and what the collective might pay and all of that kind of thing. How can you implement that vision? Who is most responsible for developing it, and how do you think you can implement that vision with your team as you build your program?
I think it was a mixture of everybody. I think it's also a mixture of my subculture. Me being from Camden, New Jersey, I think that is the strongest besides any coach there can possibly be, because I grew up around all different types. And I've been in the mix of some treacherous people, and I've been in the mix of some people that are just genuinely have a great heart and understand and know what it takes. So being able to navigate that, being able to be where I am right now, I would say my city has given me the biggest like gift to being able to be where I'm at right now, to make things work itself out. But I took a little from every coach. I took a little from every coach. Nobody is more detailed than Greg Schiano. Greg Schiano is detailed and very thorough. No one is more competitive than Kirby Smart. It's super, super competitive. And I mean, talking about everything, you got to make sure you win. And Matt Rule is a builder. I think he does a great job of just being able to build. And I've seen the way that he built things and the way that we've done things with him. And I learned from Steve Adagio, like, to give people opportunities, because he gave me a chance. He gave me a chance, and I was player development. So, like, that was give people opportunities. And even Rod Carey, who I got to work with a short time, like a half a year, working with him, I seen how to treat a staff. And I seen how two things from him. He loved his staff a whole lot, but in the same sense with me, it's like you can love them, but you can't let them pull you down. You know what I mean? You can't let it like mess up. Nothing's bigger than that. See, we have an upside down pyramid. It's Syracuse first, then it's the players, then the coaching staff, then Fran. And I'm after all of them. I put me after all of them. And the reason I'm at the bottom, because I'm the one that's going to push them. Like, I'm going to push the coaches to be able to push the players. And when the players are doing really well, then the S looks good. It's all about the block S. And if we can do those things the right way, then it goes that way. But I would say everybody, but the most important, like, is just being from Camden, New Jersey, being able to go to college and being able to talk to the young men. Like, everybody wants to be like, oh, I'm from this hard pod and I was tough and I was doing that. Being from Camden, I don't even have to say that. I mean, naturally, where he's from. Okay, so I understand how he came up. Like, when you hear his mom had him at 13 years old and 4 boys by the time he was 21, we wasn't born. We didn't have Bentleys. You know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. So it's just being able to show the kids. And I think they like the fact that, like, wow, coach is like this and he's teaching us this. He's teaching us faith. He's showing us how to be men. Are we going to get NIL? Yeah, we're going to compete. We got guys that love our school, that make a bunch of money. Like, look, we don't have with Pete. Pete going to send us some money. So I'm just messing around. But you know how it is. It's just we got guys that love to compete. We got people that love our program. So we'll be able to compete NIL. Will we get the top guy all the time? No, but we'll get a few of them. But just our structure and what I learned from every coach, it's going to make it real simple there.
I think if you get Pete to reach in his pocket for that, you will have exceeded what I've ever done in a restaurant for dinner.
Yeah, I mean,
Pete has the shortest arms in all of sports media. They don't reach to his pockets.
Crazy? He knows now that he's on the spot and he has to reach out because everyone here looks up to him. You got every kid that now.
I'm a Northeast guy. I'll get you some Dunkin' Donuts, friend.
He knows everybody's looking up to him and looking forward. So, I mean, but Pete does a lot. I mean, just his words alone, though, Pete's always looking out for everyone and wants to talk. And any young guys you got that want to be in this profession, reach out to me. So just what he does, just that alone is more than the financial piece, but we're gonna hit him up on that later on. We're gonna wait till we get some wins. We'll wait for some wins to come back with that.
Well, when I was at Syracuse, Fran, 95 to 99, they had a lot of wins. And you mentioned Camden in the Northeast, and the identity of Syracuse at that time, they cherry picked other places, but it was guys like Kevin Johnson from New Jersey, Keith Bullock from New York. Quentin Spotwood was from Elizabeth. I can go on and on, but it was very much firm in that footprint. George DeLeon, who I know was one of your mentors at Baylor and Temple, was a prolific recruiter of New Jersey in the Northeast. As you're trying to rebuild Syracuse back to being a consistent winner, how much does the Northeast have to do with that identity?
Right now, we have 34 new guys on our roster, and 19 of them are from in New Jersey. So that's home and New York, New Jersey. I told them, let's get rid of the water, and that's one state now. We're gonna put it all together. That's our state. We're gonna make sure that we dominate and recruit there. Even if you look at all the guys that were in the portal that were from New Jersey or New York City, they came home. And everyone considering Syracuse home now. So I think we're going to do a good job there. We have like meaningful relationships there with Nunzio Campanelli, with Elijah Robinson, Dennis Thomas. I mean, the list goes on with all those guys. Jeff Nixon, who was with the Eagles for all those years, whose kids grew up in New Jersey, just being around. And then myself, like I'm from there, I'm home. As you get older, you start to notice like Camden was one piece, but everyone moves out and goes to different spots. So kind of connected from South Jersey all the way through the top in North Jersey. And then New York City has always been a place that I've recruited. So people understand and know that I've always treated it like home, whether I was at Georgia, Baylor, Temple. I always made sure that New Jersey and the tri-state area, period, was a priority, just such as Philadelphia. And, they sprinkled into the DMV here and there. And then I've seen they went out a little bit more. And if you listen to my press conference in the beginning, I said, we want to do it the way that I've seen those guys do it. I thought Coach Pasqualoni and DeLeon did a really good job. Everyone speaks about the coach before. I can't speak much into it because I was so young that I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't understand that. And I'm not going to sit up there now and be like, oh, yeah, he did this because of that. Because I didn't know that era. I more so got into football after watching Charles Woodson, like the college football, after him putting the rose in his mouth from Ohio State game. Like, that's kind of when it started to go on me, and just seeing a little bit before my uncles and would talk about Deion Figures and guys like that was at Colorado and things of that nature. So I wasn't big into it that young because that wasn't what was around me. I grew up in a different environment, so everyone didn't focus on football. You knew about Mike Rozier. Mike Rozier went to Nebraska, so I was like, cool. You knew Mike Rozier was great. And then George Hageman started to come along, different guys from my city that I started to see get opportunities to go out. But even you go back before, like I never knew who Derek Ramsey was and all those guys from New Jersey that played at Kent High that went. I wasn't even born yet when they ended up going to college and graduating and all, So my first experience with college was DeJuan Wagner. His dad, Milt Wagner, came home when we was in the 8th grade, and we got to ride around in Milt Wagner's Cherokee van. It was like, holy snap. Like, it was amazing. We was riding the Cherokee. He would take us up to the gym and watch him play summer league basketball there. So, like, my experience was like, oh, snap, this is amazing. Okay, I want to go to college. Then getting to see DeJuan Wagner do all the things he'd done, high school ball, to go to school, it became more real. But for us, it was a myth to me. So I didn't really grow up, like, locked in on college football. It's just all it does until, honestly, when I seen Charles Woodson put that rose in his mouth and I watched him score and I watched how he kept playing every week, he became like, to me, I love Deion. He's a mentor to me now. He talks to me all the time, tells me, make sure you get big. Like, he's giving me good advice on it. But Charles Woodson is the guy that I, like, admired, like, look up, go after. I know he'd look after Deion, so it wasn't wrong, but Woodson was like everything to me. I tried to wear the cleats he wore. If you watch all the stuff that I did, I wore number 2 in college. I did it because of Charles Woodson. So he was kind of like my college hero.
I know you're early into this job, but from your experience at Georgia, there's this perception that there's a big gulf between SEC, Big Ten programs and the rest of college football, and that it's only growing right now. How do you perceive that, and how will you approach that as you start to build this at Syracuse? Because from listening to you, clearly the goal is to compete on that level, to be what Michigan and Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State have been in recent years. So how do you bridge that gap, given the realities in college football right now, that some of the finances are a little bit different or a lot different between Big Ten, SEC schools and the rest?
Well, the fact of the matter is most people try to act like it isn't, but it is. Like, it's a big difference in the recruiting budget alone. So let's just go off of that. There's different things they can do. But what you have to do is be very, very detailed in the homework that you're doing when it comes to recruiting. And I think it becomes, you may not get all the 5-star players that they say who their 5 stars coming out, but you can have 5-star development. And 5-star development will always end up beating them because now you start to look at guys that are drafted. Look at who they're going after. They don't go after everybody that was just a 5-star who came out that knew how to do everything the right way. They start to look at, oh, snap, look what happened to this guy over the past 4 years. Look at who he is now. Look at where he was. But coming out, he might have been a two-star. He might have been that 6'6" kid that was only 260 pounds that they may not take in the SEC. But that kid only ate once a day. So now he coming to school and he get to eat 4 times a day. Now this kid is 315. And he's way more athletic than all of them because he thought he was a basketball player. So those are the kids that I'll probably end up getting, half of them. But I'm going to compete for the other ones, being able to get it. And there's nothing like being genuine and very authentic. Like, so authenticity is so hard for me to say that word. But just being honest with you, they're going to come to what's real. Like, the kids want to be around real. And if you're real and you're winning, it's not going to be a whole lot big difference over that 50K that you might be able to give them that weekend. So I'm gonna get that with them being real and being genuine, and then show them the future, because Syracuse has a huge alumni base throughout the country. So when you're able to give guys internships during school, and they are able to see that, when you're able to already set them up for life after football, because everyone's not going to go to the NFL. So when they know guaranteed, because Coach Fran and everyone's trying to start Syracuse 60, which is within 60 days after you graduate, you'll have a job in the field that you want to work in because of our alumni base, because everybody's pouring back and wants to get involved. We're going to make sure you get a job, because, see, what I know is come August is when depression hits. Mm-hmm. That's when you're really down and sad. So all the other stuff you do through college, everyone's happy about it. When I'm already taken care of, when August hits, I know such and such isn't going to probably make it in the league. We got to make sure he has a job. So if a kid can make 85 to 6 figures, now there's a little void filled. At least he know he's going to work and making some money while he may still want to train and do other things. But that little gap, okay, I'm getting paid now, I'm doing this, I'm working in my field, so my education paid off. That's where we're going to beat them at. And now as they see that, and then we're going to just continuously catch up. The coaches that we have do an amazing job, so we're going to continue to develop. I'm still coaching the corners. So, you continue to develop corners to make sure guys have opportunities to go play in the secondary. So we're just going to try to outcoach them technically, and then we'll just see how the growth goes, But, like, are we going to ever have the same NIL budget as Georgia? No, probably not. Won't have the same budget, but I know how to treat the kids better. You know what I'm saying? They'll know they can trust me more. They'll be able to come to me and do things. And I'm not saying that towards Kirby Smart either. I'm saying that overall, like the FCC, I'll treat the kids the way they're supposed to be treated. I got a son in college. I know how he wants to be treated. I know how I want him treated. That's how I make sure I treat these players the same way. So I think we'll win just off of that alone.
Well, one player you beat a lot of people for is Kyle McCord. I think he's probably one of the most significant recruits to come to Syracuse in the last 20 years. Really, I think that commitment sent an adrenaline jolt through the program, Fran. Walk us through, he's obviously a South Jersey kid and a lot of ties to Jeff Nixon, and I'm sure yourself. Just walk me through that recruitment and what it's been like to be with Kyle now for a couple months.
Well, he's a leader. He's an alpha. He works hard, and he can take hard coaching, doing strength and conditioning, running workouts. One time I seen him not going, I say, hey, yo, Kyle, you're going to pick this up. Like, you got to go. We're going to need you to break 60-yard touchdown. There's no different than me watching you in Little League, Kyle. I expect to see the same player. And he looked at me, smiled, I got you. Never, ever didn't go full speed, running the way he's supposed to run. See, I knew Kyle since he was in Little League. My wife and his father worked together. My wife's a nurse. She does anesthesia. His dad works in the medical field also, does things. So they work together. I remember my wife first told me, hey, it's a kid, Kyle McCord, play at Pensacola in Little League. He's really good. He's going to be the best kid coming out. Okay, Tay, I got you. His dad told me, I'm like, yeah, every dad tells you this. And then it happened to be Kyle McCord. So she was kind of right this time. So to this day, she'll say, just so you know, I'm the one that got Kyle McCord, not you. Me and his dad had a good relationship. But Kyle works hard, man. We knew each other. I recruited him when I was at Rutgers. Mm-hmm. Of course, he went to Ohio State, which was great. And then just being here, I think Kyle appreciates the way I treat him. I hold him accountable. I mean, if you just go through our things, detail, accountable, relentless, and tough. I'm very detailed. He's very detailed. We're accountable to each other. I'm relentless after what it is I want, and I think so is he. And he's a tough guy. I'm a tough guy. And we know that tough things are going to happen, and we're going to have each other's back when it gets tough. I'm not going to turn my back on him. And I think those are some of the things, and nothing towards any other programs or where it was. I just think that me and him have a better fit. I understand who the kid is. I actually knew the kid. Um, and I want to see him be successful even when he's not playing football, because I think Kyle's going to be a really good husband. Like, I know we all pride ourselves on being good husbands and good fathers, but like whoever he marries, he has a lady that he likes right now. Like, this kid is going to be like just good at whatever it is he does. Like, he's going to be a good husband. He's the guy that your wife is okay that you're out with for 4 days. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude is a good kid, like a good person. I mean, he's going to be a good father. Just the way he treats my son when he comes up and mess with him. And it's not, because he's the head coach's kid. Like, he gets on him. Hey, I see you drop that pass over there. You tell me how good you are. Like, he messes with him. But then he also, like, this kid does community service on his own now while he's up there. There's different things that he's doing and he'll come to me about. So, I don't know. I'm just happy with the relationship that I have with him. And my first time being a head coach, I get to have a player that's that good at quarterback, but we get to build and we get to talk to each other. And like I told him in our program, I think with anywhere in the world, right? It's the head football coach. It's usually the quarterback. Then it's the coaches. And he understands that, knows that. I told him that from day one when I recruited him. And our coaching staff understands that. But this kid has both sides of the ball. The kids want to die for him. They work hard for him. And then he's getting the other quarterbacks better, because we got two other young guys that the most important position on the team is the second string quarterback, because if something happens, like it goes down. But you got to see how he pushes those guys. You know what I mean? He pushes them and they're pushing each other. So I'm thankful that he decided to pick us, because he could have went anywhere else. I'll forever be thankful for it. But I'm going to push him and work him. And we got a lot of work to do, and he's gotten our team tougher. They work their butt off. But we just got to keep working, man. I'm happy to have him here, but he did make it easy to get the other kids. If you think of this, Kyle McCord was the Pennsylvania Gatorade Player of the Year. Fidel was the New Jersey Gatorade Player of the Year. Those guys both end up coming here. You know what I'm saying? So when you start to look at it, then we get other guys that are here. We also got LaQuint Allen, who's the Gatorade Player of the Year from New Jersey. So you start to get all those kids who I've known, who are all from the area I'm from, all of them there. A Deuce Chestnut, who was here and left for whatever reasons, went there, thought the grass was green on the other side. I told him, I mess with him all the time. You found out that shit was turf. It wasn't grass, right? You know what I'm saying? And always greener. So, like, he's back. And, it's just the kid's body's changed already, and just how he's lifting and how he's bought in. Sometimes you got to go through something to realize that where you are, it's a good spot. So, Kyle has changed the thought process of going to Syracuse, and I'm very thankful for that, and I'll never forget that.
To what level do you credit hibachi dinners to helping your recruiting efforts too?
It's just a look. I think it's the message that's being spent at the hibachi dinner.
King Joseph seemed to like it. He seemed to.
They do. Like, everybody goes out, oh, this is different, this is that. Like, it's straight and it's cool. Like, I tell the guys, like, well, this is nice that we're able to do this. But guys, I could care less what you're eating right now and what you're doing. We got three things: committed, care, and trust. Are you committed to what we're trying to do? Do you care, and can we trust you? And we just want to be able to answer those three questions. Yes, committed, care, and trust. But those hibachi dinners and the different pieces and having stage cars. Like, why we like cars at photo shoots, I don't know. We can't drive them. You know what I'm saying? Can't get in them, but they just sit in the car. So it's like, what are we doing here, right?
Hey, what kind of car would have been at your photo shoot at Western Carolina?
At Western? Oh, they'd have got me a Honda Accord, probably a 03 Honda Accord, 4-door. You know what I mean? I would have probably had a Honda Accord. It definitely would not have been a Lexus or anything of that nature. They might have got me a Honda or maybe a Buick, a Cutlass, something of that nature. Yeah.
Fran, when you look at this season coming up, as much as you did in the portal, you also kept Marlo Wax, Justin Barron, Aronde Gadsden. You mentioned LeQuint. The schedule, I think, would afford some opportunity. There's no easy schedules, but there's no Florida State, no Clemson, and no North Carolina on Syracuse's ACC schedule this year. You do have age-old rivals Cal and Stanford. Just what can people expect out of this Syracuse team in 2024?
This is not a coach's answer. This is honestly I know we play Ohio. I don't care about who we play after that. I'm really focused on spring ball. And I'm not like BSing you. Like I know at some point there we got to play Miami. Everybody say different things, and I'm not lying. I have not looked at the schedule. I don't care about the schedule. If I look at the schedule, it's gonna mess me up. I ain't got time to focus on that schedule because then I'm not going to give the players what they need now. What they need to do is enjoy this little break. When they get back Monday, I got to make sure we're ready to kill spring ball. Then after spring ball, we're going to go into our next phase, which we got to be able to dominate summer. Like we're going to all stay up here and taking Maymaster classes. Like I'm making sure everybody get 3 credits. Like I'm going to show these kids how to get their bachelor's degree in 3 years. That's why we're going to beat them, though, Rece, because I'm going to be on them about academics and do this. And I got them on a whole different level. So everyone knows we're getting 3 credits in May real quick, 2 weeks, boom, we're going to bang it out. But my thing is spring ball. Kill spring ball. Let's get better at spring ball. Let's get dominated on what it is that we want to do. Let's make sure that we could a nice show for everyone could come out and watch us practice, could practice 15, which everybody look at the spring game and let's make it this. No, we coming out to hit. Like we coming out to see who's gonna keep what spots because some people still may not want to be on the team. The portal will open back up. Some guys gonna leave by choice. Somebody's gonna leave by just what has to happen because I got to continue to upgrade the talent on the roster. You know, they may not be a fit talent wise or scheme wise, but I'm really not focused on that schedule at all because I think it'll get you beat. And coaches always say that, but then I hear them talk about it. If we just get these first 4, then like I'm not doing that. I'm not falling into that trap. I've been an assistant coach for a long time, and I hear where guys fall into it and look at it. We are going to dominate spring football, and I'm going to focus on spring ball because earlier, remember you asked me, Rece, what was the obstacle that I wanted to make sure? I want to make sure I'm able to give these fans what they deserve. And if I start to look ahead, just like anybody else, you're not focused on where you are. And mental toughness is to be where your feet are. So how can I tell our players mental toughness when me as the head coach, I'm already looking to see what could happen? Because once you start looking at the schedule, oh, we win this season, and I could probably get a new bonus, or I'm not worrying about none of that. God gonna handle all those things. It'll work the way it's supposed to work, but we are going to dominate these 15 practices. Like we're gonna kill these 15 practices, and then we'll take it to the next phase of it. You know.
You hear many coaches when they take over as a head coach for the first time say that intellectually you might understand the job, but there are certain things that you don't truly grasp until you sit in that chair. You're pretty early in this, and maybe some things will come along over the course of the summer or let's say fall practice or game 6. But up to this point, what's something that stands out to you that maybe you comprehend a little bit better being in the chair that was more difficult to understand just from an observational standpoint as an assistant coach?
Probably just everybody's problems. You know, everyone has issues. You know, you're responsible for every staff member, their families, every player, and what they're going through. So just that day to day of everyone coming to you, you got to follow that schedule, but still got to be there for your players. Still got to be a husband and a wife and a father. So just that whole every day of someone going to have something new that's going to come on your plate, and you got to go tend to it and still be able to finish that schedule out. And I think that a lot of people don't give coaches, and I'm not saying like, because see, the way I look at it, I'm thankful that I get an opportunity to have that come to me because I prayed for the position. God put me in it. So I would never say, oh, I'm so busy, I got all this. Like, I'm so thankful that it's me. And if he wanted to give me 20 more things a day and I have to figure out how to get it done, I'm going to figure out how to get it done because I begged God for this opportunity and he gave it to me. So I'm going to make the best of it. But I think now sitting in the seat, I understand why at times Coach Smart will just walk by with his head down and get to his office because he had other things. Like he got a lot going on. You know, Coach Chiano would have a lot going on, and you don't really understand it until you're sitting there. And then every issue is your issue. You know, every issue you got to be able to deal with, but you got to understand and know what's really big and then what isn't. What do you have to tend to right there, what you don't. And what I'm never going to do is put something over the players. So the players are always first. They come up with something, no matter how small it may seem, and you know, in the big grand scheme of it, it's not that. But to them, it may not be because they're 18 to 22 years old. This is everything to them. So when they come to you with something, you got to be able to drop everything and say, okay, look, this is how we handle this. This is where it's at. But I just think being able to stay on task of your schedule as a head coach, it can become hard because of everything that could happen. If something was to happen to our defensive coordinator and he had family issues and different pieces, I got to be able to step right in because the day may not be the same because now, okay, the co-coordinator has it, have other people that step in, but they're going to need some help. And then now you have to do that on top of this. So I just think the day-to-day process for the coach, and there's so much more that I don't know about that's going to hit me. And I'll say, dang, I'll do that. Like our DFO got a lot of things. Hiring, I didn't realize how important that was for every position because I was just worrying about the 10. But everything has to fit. The people got to fit. Like if you just start trying to push people, oh, now you come to get a job, you get a job, you get a job, and you're not thinking about how this personality and that personality are going to match, then you're going to fail because you have to have people that are like not selfish. I mean, we all got some selfishness to us because, like, I mean, we're not Jesus Christ, but we all have a little bit of selfishness to us. But in the same sense, they got to know, yo, it's bigger than us. This is about the program. So, like, the hiring piece was another piece that I didn't realize. Like, oh, I'm gonna get him. I know this guy. I know that guy. They all might not fit well in that room together. And if they don't fit well in that room together, it's going to take me to go in that room to be able to get it done the right way. And you may not have the time to do that, and you have to address it right away because if you don't, it could become a huge problem in the program. Another thing that I have is woman. Like, don't mess with anyone that works in our facility. Like, you're not allowed to do that. Don't do it. It's a no. If you do it, y'all better be getting engaged next night and about to get married soon. So then that way I know it. Otherwise, don't do it. It's a 100% no, and it can mess up the entire program. So if you do that, hopefully you're getting another job, or I want to see the ring on our hand tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So like little things like that you start to look at, and I just started to see what was the downfall over some of other coaches. What is something that's going on in the world right now that could really hurt you without it even being you, and know some of those things like that are issues.
Fran, I tell you, one thing I know why you blew away our old friend John Wildhack in the interview process. This has been a great conversation. I know you've known Pete for quite some time. I'm just now getting to know you, but man, really impressive stuff. Wish you all the luck in the world. And as we let you go, I know you wanted and hoped to get a shot of that Hall of Fame jacket. Who wore all those Hall of Fame jackets there at Syracuse that the recruits
Well,
could?
that one was Art Monk. Of course, you know about Marvin Harrison.
Mhm.
I mean, you got Jim Brown. You got all these guys that done play here and done it. And then the one that's coming up though right now is Dwight Freeney. I'm excited about Dwight Freeney and so thankful for him. Dwight Freeney, Donovan McNabb, all these guys. When I first got the job, literally I gave him a call. I mean, picked up the phone. Dwight Freeney. You see a guy that got just literally dominated the NFL, but just talked to me as if, hey, whatever you need, coach. Just so soft spoken and cool, and it's like, wow, like this dude it was amazing to be talking to him. I had to catch myself. I tell my wife like, I'm talking to Dwight Freeney. I'm saying I'm on the phone with Dwight Freeney, but just like him opening up and just saying, friend, whatever you need. If you line coaches, I need me to come up there in the summertime and do certain things. Like I'm here for you, but I want you to do it your way. And all of the old alumni, they all kept saying, I want you to be able to do it your way. Doing it your way is what's going to make us win, man. That's going to be a big thing. Do it your way. Be tough on the guys, and I'm here whenever you need. So, like McNabb said that. Kevin Johnson said that. Rob Conrad. I mean, the list goes on. You forget different names. But, I mean, there's so many players that play here. And then as I came in and I started to look, I'm like, dang, he played. Like, I didn't know Art Monk played here. I had to go back and I started to look at it. I'm like, dang, Armand play here was really good. Like you started just thinking of stuff and just going through it. But I mean, just some of the like better players in the National Football League were here. And then when you talk about it, like this was one of the coolest things. I'm gonna show y'all this. When they announced me to be the head coach and it sits in my locker, I literally had Jim Brown's jersey and Brown on the back of it. This is the best thing ever. Like that being my last name and for my family, that meant so much to us. So, I keep this in my locker and just in my little locker I have in my office. But we always sit there and go through that. But I mean, just being able to Jim Brown, Floyd Little, Ernie Davis. I mean, I watched Express with my son hundreds of times, and then I'm the head coach here. You know what I'm saying? So it's still like, oh, surreal. It's like, wow. But I mean, I'm thankful. Just Rece, honestly, because I'm a little bit different than everybody else. I'm gonna bust my butt and do it. To have the opportunity to be on here talking to you after watching you just growing up as a kid, and then now I'm on here as a adult, being a head football coach at Syracuse, getting a chance to talk to you and Pete, who's became a mentor to me. I mean, I'm thankful for that. I don't take that lightly. I don't take it lightly that you came on here and done it. And you'll see through my work that I'm thankful that you took the chance to be on here with me. I'm gonna bust my butt because I don't want to make it where dang, I talked about dude, but it was a flop, or it didn't work out this way. Like, I'm guaranteeing you, no one's going to outwork me. I'm going to bust my butt, and you'll be thankful that you and I are friends because I'm gonna do it the right way. I'm gonna do it with the man above first. I'm gonna do it over about Syracuse, about the team, and I'm a good father and husband. My wife Tiara and I have been together, coming up, about to be married 19, and together for 25 years. We got a 19-year-old son at St. 19-year-old son at St. Francis, Loretta, PA. He plays linebacker, but he's also mechanical engineer as his major. We got an 11-year-old son who thinks this is his building, like he thinks he's the head football coach here. And then I got a 2-year-old daughter that I got to figure out how to keep her diaper on in the house. So, I mean, I'm a regular guy, like, but I'm very thankful and just happy about the opportunity that I have, and I'm going to continue to take full advantage of it. And this breath of air that's in me will never stop. Like, I won't lose that. I know you see a lot of guys lose it, and you can say, "Oh, he's not the same." Ask those kids who's recruiting me. I'm on the phone talking to them along with our staff. Our staff is bust their butt, but I'm not a guy now. I'm the head coach. I can't do that. No, I'm recruiting. I'm doing it the same way.
That's fantastic, man. We wish you all the luck in the world, and College Game Day needs to get to Syracuse one of these days. So you follow through with all of this, as I'm sure you will, and we'll look forward to going to Pete Thamel Hall and setting up for College Game Day at some point in the future. Fran, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Lee.
Really impressive guy, Fran Brown, but the question remains, what constitutes success at Syracuse? I know you're right down the middle. You're always fair and, nonpartisan, non-biased, all of that. But as an alumnus and mixed with your role covering this sport, what constitutes success at Syracuse in football?
Well, I think realistically, Rece, consistently making bowls and occasionally competing for conference championships would constitute success. It is funny when you do these playoff projections looking back. Syracuse actually would, if it's a 12-team playoff, Syracuse would have made it, or 14-team maybe, under Dino Babers one year. Like, you need to be very good and then have the seasons where everything comes together and you get the right transfers and the right players develop, and then you flash and really can do that. Now, the schedule, as I mentioned in the question of Fran, does set up well for them this year. I don't think they're ready to really compete for the ACC championship yet. There's so much unknown, and quite frankly, a whole other spring portal where they certainly have an opportunity to improve. But I do think the pieces are in place with McCord, with some of the transfers where they can go out and establish themselves as a consistent winner and then kind of push on from here.
We did not get to a question about dinosaur barbecue, but that was because I didn't want to upset him, because none other than former Syracuse, current Clemson guard Joseph Girard has shut the door on that, and accurately, I might add. Dinosaur barbecue is a nice place to go. It's good barbecue. It's not Smokin Pig. It's not in the same realm as Smokin Pig, and it just never will be. So that's another area in which Syracuse will have to catch up to Clemson and some others as well.
I'm partial to dinosaur. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you should.
When I worked at the Syracuse Post-Standard, dinosaur is like right around the corner. They had a chicken velvet soup on Tuesdays, Rece. Make your knees shake.
Have you been to Smokin Pig? I mean, no, both things are good.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it's
both
not,
are good.
But Smokin Pig is not. It's good. Smokin Pig is the most complete and the best overall barbecue restaurant I've ever been to. Now, you might split hairs, and you might say, look, I prefer the ribs at Dreamland, or I prefer the pulled pork at Archibald's, or I like Rendezvous better because of the sausage. But overall, combination of protein, high levels of delicious protein, and sides that are just out of this world, including a sweet potato casserole that they call sweet potato crunch, that comes in a distant second, but second nonetheless to my wife's, which is untouchable. It's the only one that's even been in the ballpark. I mean, Smokin Pig. And not only that, when we were at Clemson a couple of weeks ago for basketball, their great SID, Ben Winterroad, called me and he said, hey, the Pig's closed on Tuesdays, but I know a guy. And I'm like, well, if you know a guy, he's like, and he'd like to, he knows of your affinity for the Pig. He'd like to make sure that you guys have a meal. And boy, did we have a meal.
All right.
Right there.
That's a guy to know. That's a guy to know. I need
right
to know
there
a
in
guy.
the middle of the courtyard by Marriott. And by the way, it is pronounced Marriott, which is a stunning turn of events, too, that we've talked about earlier on this podcast. But shared right there in Clemson. It was a feast. Remarkable feast. And so that's a challenge. Dinosaur Barbecue, the next time College Game Day goes to Syracuse, your serve. Try to hit an ace past the Smokin Pig and see what happens.
That's a matchup I can really get behind.
All right, Pete. A little breaking news. Fran Brown on. It was great. Thanks for joining us on the College Game Day podcast. Please subscribe. That's the best way to never miss a single thing about our evaluation of barbecue restaurants or visits with head coaches, or you can get the podcast wherever you prefer to get your podcast.